Guys, welcome back to the Pageant Project. Got a lot of people at the moment needing to shoot pageant videos. So whether that is you're actually having to create a video for a submission, maybe an optional part of your competition, which is something that I was just helping one of my clients with last weekend. So whether it's something like that, or whether you're considering entering open call for Miss USA or Miss Teen USA, and if you've done that, you know that very soon, as in you're going to be working on this now, if you make it through, at least at the moment, if you make it through the first round, the next round you're going to be required to submit 2 videos. One which is basically your walk, but the other one is more your pitch, right? Your straight to camera, tell the Miss USA people why you think you should be selected for a chance to compete on the Miss USA or the Miss Teen USA stage. Now, don't get it twisted. When it comes to creating a good video or great video, it's not something that you can just pick up overnight. It's not something that's as simple as picking up your phone, shooting it straight to camera and going, hey, that'll do. That being said, you need to be, I'm going to give you 7 tips here, but the overall tip is you need to be aware, you need to bear in mind what you're creating here. Like, what's the purpose? If you're doing a platform video for an optional part of your competition, you probably want it more polished and a bit more upmarket in terms of production values. Production values being using multiple shots, using B-roll, different switches of wardrobe, things like that. You probably would want a platform video that you're submitting for an optional to be a bit more polished than, let's say, the Miss USA or the Miss Teen USA open call video. I say that because when I interviewed Tom Brodeur, he specifically said, look, we don't want you to take on a huge like Hollywood production team, and we want you to be pretty, not necessarily unscripted, but unscripted, if that makes sense. So you need to be efficient with your words, but he doesn't want the rehearsed pageant robot. Having said that, I don't think we ever want the rehearsed pageant robot. But there's an element of personality and relatability that you would need to bring to the open call video that maybe is replaced with a high level of polish or higher production values when it comes to a platform video that you're submitting for actual competition. So you need to bear that in mind, number one. Now, that being said, let me give you 7 tips here, quick tips that hopefully will help you out a lot, and you don't need to be a Hollywood Steven Spielberg or Michael Bay, that level of director, before you can actually use them. Shortcut, though, is yes, if you can get someone to help you, it's going to help a lot. Now, that actually reminds me, I'm going to put another bonus, because I have a bonus tip that I forgot, and it's super important. Okay, but let's go through my 7 tips here. If you're hearing typing, it's because I need to remind myself what the bonus tip is. Number 1, read your script out loud. Number 1, read your script out loud. Now, you might say to me that, well, USA Open Call, Tom said he wanted, I don't know if he said unscripted, but he certainly said he wanted not rehearsed and he wanted authentic. Now, the issue is the open call videos are a maximum of 60 seconds in length. I know that because I've seen the requirements myself from one of my clients who has submitted and paid for open call. 60 seconds. Now, of course, we don't want you to sound scripted. That being said, I don't think there's anyone who in 60 seconds can just turn on the camera and make every word efficient and make every word count. So I hate scripting, but this is one case where even if I didn't script word for word, and I probably wouldn't do that, but I certainly would at least think about what my talking points are going to be. Maybe certain key phrases that I'm going to put in there. There's just no way that you can 60 seconds unscripted and make every word count. But here's the thing, you cannot. If people like to send me their written scripts and ask me for their opinion, ask me for my opinion, which makes a lot of sense in terms of, yes, that's your script, you want me to tell you what I think. But you have to realize written and verbal are completely different media. So if I take, for example, Martin Luther King, the I Have a Dream speech, it's iconic in terms of his delivery, his verbal delivery. But if you just write it on a piece of paper, I have a dream, you look at that and go, yes, so what? You and everybody else. So you cannot just think that you write the script and you never read it out loud, you never rehearse it, you never practice how to deliver it. Think of yourself as an actor or an actress. It's not just memorizing your lines. You need to think, how am I going to deliver it? You cannot just write it down, work on it there, and then think, yep, that's great, good to go. You will find when you read our scripts, there are certain words you trip over. There are certain words that just don't sound right coming out from you. There are certain words that are very hard to say. There are certain combinations of words that are very hard to say. Sometimes your sentences are too long. Sometimes they're too short, etc., etc., etc. So I want you to read your script out loud to camera. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just read it out loud to your phone. How does it sound? Right? Does it sound natural? Does it fit? When I say natural, does it fit the aesthetic or the goal that you're going for? So if it needs to sound more polished, does it sound more polished? If it needs to sound more in the moment and relatable, does it sound more in the moment and relatable? So that's number one. Read your script out loud. Don't just write it down. Number two, natural lighting is best lighting. Just hands down. Okay, if you're going to ask me about, now, don't be a person who doesn't think about lighting. Equally, don't be a person who thinks their ring light can outdo natural lighting. I'm saying that I have 3 ring lights here. Well, a soft light in front of me, a webcam light, a big ring light over there, another ring light over there. This, even with 3 ring lights, doesn't look anywhere near as good as natural lighting, as sunlight. And by the way, if you just have one ring light and you go straight to camera with the ring light and you have a holder for your phone, if you have glasses, you end up with big circles on your glasses. Even if you don't have glasses, you'll have big rings in your eyes. And it can be very, very harsh and very direct. And frankly, if you're speaking into a ring light, I don't know that that looks super relatable. So natural lighting, if you can do it, is best lighting. Maybe in the middle of the day when it's super hot, that's not so great because it can be very harsh. But outside of that, the best way to make sure your video is going to be well lit and look great is to use natural lighting. So maybe earlier in the morning before the harsh midday sun, or later in the afternoon or evening, because you do want your video to look good. You don't want to look like you don't want to overdo it and be in a sound studio with 5,000 lights, because people will see that that's just over the top, especially for open call and even if a platform video. But equally, you don't want to look like what I call hostage in basement situation where, and even I hate the lighting that I've got on at the moment because I look kind of green and sallow. I don't look warm. And you simply, guys, you simply don't have these issues when it's natural lighting. You only have it when it's artificial lighting. Whatever you do not shoot your video under fluorescent lighting. You know, those tubes they have going in office spaces. That will make you look like you have scurvy. You will look horrific. They do not work well with cameras. So avoid that. But natural lighting is best lighting. That's number 2. Tip number 2. Tip number 3, keep your audio uniform. What I mean by that is if you start, let's say you're recording your audio or video in separate segments. If you record your first one using your phone, I want you to try to use the audio from your phone for the entire video. If that sounds like, well, hang on, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be there, then I'm going to be inside, what I would recommend is you pick one location where you can record all the audio. And then the other snippets or the other video that you're going to use, you don't use the audio from them. You simply use the audio from your one central location. So, for example, I have a podcasting mic here. The audio from this will be much better than any audio I could get anywhere else. So I might like to record my voiceover on my podcasting mic, but then I'll have, what they call B-roll or casual footage of me out and about doing things. So if you're a pageant contestant and you have a platform, maybe it's you doing some platform work. or it's out and about in your community, or you doing an appearance or something like that. But when I say keep the audio uniform, what I mean, now keeping the volume is uniform, but that's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you go, okay, one shot, you're using the audio from your phone. Then the next shot, you're using a podcasting mic. Or let's say, your opening shot, you use your phone, but the rest of it is a voiceover on a podcasting mic. Or let's say one time using your phone, then you're using one of those lapel mics, the ones that you guys like to hold here or put on your clip. And then you're using a podcasting mic for some reason. And then you're using a far away shot on the phone, and then using a close-up shot on your phone. All those audios sound different. You might think, no, they don't. They sound the same. I guarantee you. People actually are sometimes more sensitized to audio than the visuals in your video. So please keep your audio uniform. That doesn't mean, by the way, it needs to be completely noise-free. Don't make it more complicated than it has to be. If you're out and about, remember what I said, natural lighting, best lighting. If you're out and about and it's fairly quiet, and maybe there's a bird tweeting in the distance, or there's a slight breeze, I actually like those background sounds, because to me, I like the openness, the actual sounding like you're in the environment. Don't get me wrong, I don't want a truck behind you. But sometimes when you relentlessly go, oh my God, there's sound in the background, it can then sound very, very dead audio-wise, and it just doesn't quite sound right. But whatever you do, try to use your audio from one source. That's what I mean, keep the audio uniform. So if it's a lapel mic, use the lapel mic's audio for the entire video. Otherwise, it's distracting. It's like, why does the audio keep changing? Number 4, on audio as well. If you use a lapel mic, stop swallowing it. Okay, don't hold it here. I don't know why it's in fashion at the moment for influencers and bloggers and pageant girls to go red carpet, have this giant, ugly looking lapel mic with that fuzzy thing on the end, which, by the way, that's called a dead cat. Not a word of a lie. That's what it's called. That fuzzy thing that cuts out wind. That's called a dead cat. And you hold it here. I'm like, guys, you wouldn't have a jarring, distracting piece of jewelry underneath your neck when you're on stage. So why do you think you want to do this? So I'm not a huge fan of lapel mics unless they're done very well, and they're supposed to be hidden, guys. So the reason they're called a lapel mic is because you put them on your lapel, and you're normally in a corporate setting, you've got a collared shirt, and it's either very subtle, you put it on your lapel, or you hide it in between the buttons on your shirt. For some reason, we decided that these things, I know this is not a lapel mic, this is a lip balm stick, but you get my point, right? For some reason, we decided these are fashion statements, okay? But regardless of whether you take my advice and you use them or not, please don't hold them next to your mouth like this. Because what happens is, first off, we hear all the saliva moving around in your mouth. That ain't attractive. Number 2, whenever you use plosives, which are the harsh consonant sounds like a P, a K, a T, any of those sounds, if you put your hand in front of your mouth and you say P, K, T, you can feel the shock wave of your breath hitting your hand. Well, guess what? Inside the microphone is a diaphragm. That shock wave will hit the diaphragm, and what you'll hear is something like the sound of someone hitting a desk. That's what they'll hear in the audio, like a boom. It sounds horrific. It's very distracting, and it's a great way to get people to turn your video off, okay, or swipe away from your video. So even if you're going to use a lapel mic or any mic, it goes here, guys, next to your larynx, not in front of your mouth. So even if you're going to hold it, especially if you're holding it to someone else, don't shove it in their mouth, guys. Put it underneath aim it basically at the base of their neck. It will pick everything up just as well, if not better. If you don't believe me, do it. I've done a lot of work with lapel mics, and it's always been here. Even this mic here, my podcasting mic at the moment, it's aimed more at my larynx. It's not aimed at my face as much. Okay, so number 4, stop swallowing the mic. Number 5, captions. Or more specifically, I've written captions, captions, captions. If the video, the submission requirements say do not caption it, don't caption it. But in almost any other setting, especially in social media, there's a reason why everyone's captioning their video now. And it's not because it's a fad. It's because very often in your feed, things autoplay without sound because we don't want to be distracted. Let's say we're on the train or we're on public transport. We don't want everyone hearing what we're swiping past. If someone swipes to your video and it's muted, and they just see you talking. They may have no idea, and so they swipe away. But if it's captions, they can read it, and there's a chance, granted it's maybe not a high chance, but there's a chance that they will turn the audio on because they are interested in what you say. The other thing is, I know some people will vehemently disagree with me on this. I kind of like having captions underneath my video so I know what you're saying, because sometimes with accent, or if you don't speak particularly clearly, or you speak really quickly, it might actually be difficult for me to hear the words and understand what you're saying. So I like the added sort of understandability or the clarity of having captions underneath. Now, how to put captions on, there's many ways to do it. You can do it on the Edits app, which is free. The Edits app, which goes along with Instagram. I'm not saying that I necessarily recommend using that, but the how to caption it, you can work it out. I would strongly suggest using captions. Again, unless you're specifically told not to. You might say, well, the open casting call is not going to be, let's say, put on social media, so we don't need captions. Yeah, potentially, but what do you lose out from if you put captions on it? Let's say you submit it to the judges, and the judges for open call, the judges for any video, they're looking at it, but they need to turn the audio down because it's distracting someone around them. And now maybe they can't really hear you clearly. And rather than turning it up, they just try and figure out what you're saying. I wouldn't leave that up to chance. So captions, I think, are great. I wouldn't put them plain in the center across the middle of your video. That's distracting. Put them in the what we call bottom third, right? So that they're legible, but they're not distracting. And also make sure use a very simple font, guys. Do not use fancy italic fonts that you think, oh, it's so cool, it's so aesthetic, but no one can read it. When it comes to captions, simplicity is best, okay? Also make sure if your video is predominantly white, using white text is probably not going to be great. So you might have a background behind the captions. It might be white text on a black background or black text on a white background. You can work those things out, but make it simple in terms of the font choice. Make it not distracting. But that's tip 5, captions, captions, captions. And number 6, tip number 6 of 7, I've written here, frame for comfort. Okay, now what do I mean by that? You know, everyone has their personal space. And if you get it way too close, what do people tend to do? They back up. On the other hand, if you're someone who stands far away, maybe because you're a germaphobe, what do people tend to do? They tend to come forward because there's just a natural sort of, and different people feel differently about this, but we have a natural sort of area around us that we want to be at when we're communicating with someone. It also applies when we're doing video communication, communicating through a webcam, whether it's on a Zoom or not. Now, framing, what I mean by this is, I don't think you need your full body, right? But you want some space above the top of your head, okay? Because if we need to zoom in a little bit, and let's say you're already here, and if you're listening to this, you're not watching this, I'm now standing up so that the top of my head's cropped off. This doesn't look good. It looks amateurish. On the other hand, if you're too far away, it's going to sound like you're it's going to look like you're very, very distant and that you're scared of the camera. And if you're using the microphone, you might have audio issues as well. There's also no need for us really to see your whole body. And also we want to hear you. We don't want to see the background. So, we're not watching your open call casting video to watch your background. We're here to watch you. So you want to take up a reasonable amount of the frame. These sorts of videos are called talking heads. So they're normally shot from, let's say, the bottom of the rib cage and then a couple of inches above the head. You could do the same in a portrait format, although normally then you'd have a bit more in a portrait format. So, TikTok or Instagram Reels 9:16, then you will fit a bit more of your body in and you'll have less of the background. By the way, guys, when it comes to 9:16 or 16:9, like a portrait or landscape, there's no right or wrong there. It really depends on what it's going to be shown on. I would say if you're doing a sizzle reel and it's going to be shown on a plasma screen TV before you go in, chances are 16:9 is going to work better for that because most TVs are horizontal. They're not done vertically, although that sometimes can happen. If it's going to be on social media, though, it's almost always vertical is going to do better. Unless it's YouTube, then it's like, so there's no right or wrong is what I'm saying with 9:16 or 16:9. Maybe ask the person or the people you're submitting to what their recommendation is, okay? But when it comes to framing, don't get too close, don't invade people's personal space, and don't be too far away where it looks like we can't see you and all we can see is your background, okay? That is tip number 6. Now, final tip before we go to the 2 bonus tips. Tip number 7, music. If you're doing a casting video, in fact, in a lot of videos, we like a bit of, ambience, let's say. There's a reason that in most, let's put it this way. There's a reason that many of us, well, at least me, you remember music or soundtracks from your favorite movies or your favorite TV shows or things like that. That's because music really can help create the atmosphere that you want. Now, that being said, it needs to be 3 things, guys. Instrumental, so no lyrics. DRM free or rights free, public domain, in other words. And it needs to be quiet. Now, why does it need to be instrumental? Simply because lyrics are going to distract from what you're saying. So I really do not recommend any song, but lyrics, but guys, means words. Okay, so I don't want someone singing in the background. Instrumental, if it's just, violins playing or it's an instrumental version of a song, great, go ahead. So instrumental, no lyrics. DRM free or public domain means you're not going to get flagged for copyright. Okay, you don't want to risk putting the latest Taylor Swift, even if it's the instrumental version, putting that to the background of your video, and then the people who are using your video can't use it because every time they try to upload it, it gets flagged for copyright, right? Copyright strikes. Don't do that. I've had a lot of issues with that. Even sometimes you use it on Instagram, you think that's great. Instagram has a lot they're more lenient with the rights, like what you can use on Instagram versus if you put it on YouTube, very often it goes, what? Can't use it on YouTube. So just stay away from that. If you go, well, where do I get this sort of music from? Look up royalty-free or copyright-free or public domain music. Stay away from any known artist is what I'm saying. Any known artist, especially on YouTube, they have automatic copyright detection. And so your video will not be visible in a lot of locations. So that's with the music. Number 2, keep it DRM free. The third one with the music, guys, keep it quiet. Don't turn it up so loud that we can't hear what you're saying. Even if you've got the captions, we need to hear what you're saying. And by the way, when you're testing for audio levels, it really helps to listen to it in a few different ways. So listen to it on your AirPod, listen to it through normal speakers, listen to it in your car stereo, because sometimes it sounds okay, let's say in our AirPods, but then it doesn't sound right when we're listening to it on a car stereo or something like that. So try and listen to it in a few different ways. But that's with music. So instrumental, DRM free, digital rights management free, and quiet. Those are our 7 tips. Now, 2 bonus tips. Number 1, test, and test. As in test shoot. I have a client tomorrow, and I had a client on the weekend, they want to talk about script. They want to talk about lighting, audio, all this other stuff. What am I going to wear? Hair, makeup. Okay. Here's the thing. First of those, a lot of those are subjective. Okay. And you ask me what's the best to wear. I don't know. That's what I mean by test shoot. Try a few different options. But here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to want to do. Go to a few different locations you're thinking of shooting at. And you have to try shooting at those locations with different outfits before you really know what's going to work best. Okay, and also different locations with different lighting, so different times of the day can look completely different. Now, you might go, Adrian, that's way too complicated. I get it. But, how important is this video to you? I'm not saying you need to go to 5,000 locations and shoot, 3 times a day at 5,000 different locations. But let's say there are 3 locations. Let's say there's one that's indoors, there's one in front of a famous landmark, and maybe there's just one on your back porch or in front of your garden or something like that, right? Pick a time of day. Again, I tend to recommend staying away from midday because there'd be very harsh, direct sunlight. But, early-ish morning, let's say before you go to work or after work, soon after work, before it gets dark. Hopefully it's quiet as well, not too many people around. Try shooting just something straight to camera with a few different, sorry, that's my email. Few different wardrobe choices. I don't think you need to really try different hair and makeup. You can see that in the mirror fine. But different wardrobe choices, different framing, different everything in the same location, and just see what works best. Okay? You want to have too much footage and not need it, rather than have not enough footage and actually need it, because it's very difficult at the last minute to go and get more footage. So try a few different locations, try a few different wardrobes, a few different outfits, and you know what? You might even want to try a few different scripts. I will say, the more options, obviously, you try, the more test shoots you do, the more time intensive it's going to be. So be intelligent with what you test, but I strongly recommend against going to one location, shooting everything in one location, with one lighting setup, with one camera, with one wardrobe choice, because if it doesn't turn out well, then what are you going to do? And you won't know, by the way, whether it's turned out until you watch it back. You just cannot know. And probably you cannot know until after it's been edited as well. That's your bonus tip number 1. The bonus tip, which I was typing about before, if you were listening, get someone else to do the camera work. That might be the biggest one of all. Talk about saving time. You might go, well, I can shoot it myself. Yes, if you want to just hold phone selfie-wise, yes, you can. But if you're trying to use a tripod, okay, just picture this. You set your phone up on a tripod and you need to set it up, let's say, 10 feet away from you. Now you don't know if you're framed up well or not, because you probably can't see the screen of the phone. And then you have to go closer to it to have a look, but then you need to go back to where you were shooting. And so you can never really know whether you're framed up correctly, so you might waste an entire shoot. The other one, sometimes your phone, it's not recording. Sometimes it runs out of battery. Sometimes you'll get a phone call and it will shut the camera off. Sometimes you want to move a little bit. Guess what? Now you've moved off frame. All of these can be solved by having a friend, a partner, or a parent to hold the camera for you, or the phone. Now, you will want to give them some simple framing directions. Remember, we said in terms of how much of your body you want to capture. Tell them that so they can do that. You also want to make sure they have a steady hand, right? You don't want someone who's almost like this. If you have a Steadicam gimbal or a tripod, great. I suggest using that. But trust me, as someone who has shot interviews outdoors before with a 3-camera setup and then found out that one of the cameras went dead halfway through and he didn't know, don't do it. Just take my word for it. Get someone else to hold the phone or the camera for you. Whilst I think about it, before shoot day, charge all your phones. Empty your storage. Take bonus cables. Take bonus battery packs, the lot. It's always going to stop working when you need it the most. Okay? So consider that your bonus tip. Okay? Now, these are all the quick tips. If you are not comfortable or familiar with creating videos yourself, even with these tips, I would still recommend that you bring in someone else to help. But can I suggest that you bring in someone who knows a bit about pageants? Because otherwise, the chances of them getting it right when they don't know anything about pageants and they don't know the purpose of what you're doing, it could happen, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. You'll need to communicate very clearly, and also they'll need to be receptive to what you're saying and actually go along with your vision. But quick recap. So 7 tips. Number 1, read your script out loud. Number 2, natural lighting, best lighting. Number 3, keep audio uniform. Number 4, stop swallowing the mic. Number 5, captions. Number 6, framing for comfort. Don't invade personal space. Number 7, music. Remember, instrumental, DRM free, and quiet. And then your bonus. Test, right? Test shoots, as many as you can. Second bonus, get someone else to hold the phone, the camera. And then third bonus, charge your phone, empty the storage, all that stuff, all the stuff that can go wrong. If you have any questions about any of this, reply to this email, leave a comment. I'm spending a lot of time at the moment helping people with their videos, not editing them myself, not shooting them myself, because I'm in Australia, you guys are mainly in America, but even helping you know what are the different things that you should factor into your video. Because if you haven't shot a lot of video, there's the stuff you know, There's the stuff you know that you don't know, but the stuff that will screw you up is the stuff that you don't know. Like, for example, holding the microphone in your mouth. Maybe you didn't know that that was a bad idea. Now you do. Okay? So any questions, anything like that, whether it's open casting call for Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, or it's a platform video, let me know in the comment. Reply to this email. If you don't know my email, it's info@thepageantproject.com. I would say email or commenting on this is preferable to sending me a DM because DMs are getting lost all over the place. Facebook, don't bother. I don't know what happens with Facebook DMs, and even Instagram DMs at the moment are a bit sketchy for me. So best way, comment or send me an email and I'll help you out whichever way I can. Best of luck with your videos. If you're doing open call, best of luck with open call. I hope it goes your way, and I'll speak to you again next week.